Hello, everybody. I'm Dr. Marianne Pinkston, and this is The Better Life with Dr. Pinkston. Welcome in. As always, I'm glad to have you, and I'm ready to hit a beautiful topic today with a beautiful soul of somebody that I've known a long time. And she and I have watched each other grow and change and accommodate to this world and do some wonderful things. And I am so proud and so honored to have Dr. Rose on with me today, who is, I think, the way to sum up Dr. Rose, besides just a ray of sunshine, a beautiful, beautiful soul, is a children's advocate. And so I know there are a lot of things. I mean, we could go on for days on so many topics, but I think this one is near and dear to her heart as well as mine. And that is to talk about protecting and advocating for children who have been harmed from the beginning, sometimes by parents, sometimes by other people. But I know you are deep in the world of healing children. You've been on a wonderful self-healing journey yourself, and this is a great topic for us to approach. I welcome you and thank you for being on.
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Marianne. I just love talking about children. When I'm at the gym, I'm talking about children. When I'm at the grocery store, I'm talking about children. It's like I can't put it off because
Right.
there's so many things that are going on with young children today, especially today, with
Yes.
all the gadgets, the tablets, and people think you can give that to a child and then just let them be.
Right.
That is not being responsible. We need to keep the fundamentals going.
Yes.
From when
Yes.
long time ago, children were, people did pay attention to children. And
Yes.
there was a lot of discipline that I had to address early in my career. I've been 40 years at this,
Wow.
40
Yeah.
years working with young children. My career started, honestly, at 4 years old in East
Mhm.
Africa, where I was in charge of my little siblings that were being born and the neighborhood children. And so I taught them the ABCs and one, two, threes. And I
Wow.
what I wanted at 4 years old is to be a teacher of young children. And then I professionally started at 17.
Yes.
At 17, I was in a classroom sweeping. I
Yeah.
wasn't even the teacher, but I kept looking and seeing what they're doing. And I said, I can do this. So I talked to the headmistress and she said, okay, we'll start you off slow. You be a teacher aide, and then, maybe one day you'll get your classroom.
Right.
One day came after I finished my bachelor's degree in art education in my country, my former country. And that was just so powerful because I was able to bring art in the classroom. Art
Yeah.
has always been a way to heal,
Yes.
and to help children who are struggling. Let's draw it. Let's
Yeah.
draw how you're feeling. And
Yes.
it's scribble,
Yeah.
scribble, scribble, black paint, brown paint, whatever.
Right. Right.
It's just letting them, get their emotions out. And so I've done this work for 40 years. I crossed over. I built a school in the inner city in Watts. I've worked across the border in,
Yes.
between Mexico and Texas, with
Yes.
migrant children. I have worked with the very wealthy. I've worked with the, people that, are from Korean background, from Russian, wherever I went, it's all about children, right?
Right.
And
Right.
so I started beginning to feel that I wasn't getting the teachers that I needed to work in the classroom. I said, what is
Mhm.
going on? I'm getting teachers who don't know how to write an observation.
Sure.
They're not focused on children. They're lacking fundamentals. And I was complaining and complaining forever about this until I
Yeah.
said, okay, I need to find a place where I can train teachers. And I
Yes.
found myself happily with my PhD, my doctorate degree in
Mhm.
teaching community college, because
Mhm.
I was getting the students that are coming from high school, and I was getting the teachers that needed to come in, and community college is what they could afford. So it was
Yes.
the best world for me because I love teaching. And so after 26 years of teaching, and teaching people how to work with young children, my students kept saying, why aren't you doing more? I mean, you should be, talking on TV. And so
Yes.
when I met you,
That's
we
where
said,
we met.
things are right. Let me get on TV. Let me
Yes.
get, a website going. Let me get this going. But then I got terrified because of my past. I have
Yes.
a past of severe abuse, child
Yes.
abuse in the
Yes.
extremes that
Yes.
started when I was a baby and, followed me until I was 23 years old,
Indeed.
until
Indeed.
stand on my own and start, figuring things out.
Absolutely.
Didn't want to expose myself to the people that hurt me, so I decided to just stay where I am and stop exposing myself. But
Yes.
once again, when you do the self healing, you start realizing this is not just about me, it's about children that are behind closed doors screaming for their lives like I once did. I need to
Amen.
help these children. I have the systems now, I can
Yes.
help them. And so
Yes.
my classroom in the last 15 years on the college level has turned into a laboratory where we
Yeah.
talk and we figure out solutions. I don't
Yeah.
like people coming to complain. I
Right.
want solutions. I'm done with the
Right.
complaining.
Right.
And so that has been my journey, the journey of working intensely with children all these years and then healing my own life. So they
Sure.
kind of coincided and they became something so beautiful that lately I'm opening the doors to a new ventures.
Yes.
I need to step up a little bit more, but safely. I always
Right.
tell my students we need to do things safely, you know,
Absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
create.
Right, right. And so can we go into then children and what they are experiencing and how that progresses, from home into school and then to adulthood, because we see this now, I think more than ever, it's being exposed, but it's not being handled. Is that correct? Are we missing the point?
You know what it is that I've always told my students, and I've told parents this: a nation that neglects their children is a nation in peril.
Yes.
When people talk to me
Future.
about, yes,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a powerful saying, right?
Yes.
One of the East African sayings I grew up with: a nation that forgets its children is a
Yes.
nation in peril. And we
Absolutely.
are seeing this right now in United States of
Yeah.
America,
Agree.
especially because we're very alert in United States of America. We're very aware. Many of
Yes.
us are aware,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And holding on to old traditions that are not working for the current children that we have right now is not
Right.
helpful. It's
Right.
not being supportive.
Right.
Just because your parents raised you one way doesn't mean now you raise your children the same way. You've got
Mhm.
to listen to that child. That child is unique. They come in with their own set of beliefs. Even little babies from the womb, I teach
Uh,
mothers how to talk their children to talk to
Yes.
children in their womb.
Yes.
Sing to them, talk to them, let
Yes.
them know they're loved. Don't wait
Yes.
until they're born. Tell them in the womb so that they have that, welcome. And
Right.
so taking a child from the womb into infancy, into toddlerhood, those are very priceless years. You
Yes.
have to be overprotective. There are
Yes.
some cultures that do not allow women to engage in negative circumstances during that time.
Right.
But once again, we're painting an ideal world where, conditions and circumstances, don't happen. They do. But
Right.
you need to decide what you are going to do for your children.
Absolutely.
They deserve a lot more than people are saying they need.
Absolutely. Scientifically, we are shown now that you know, anxiety and trauma and things like that are epigenetic. So it's transferred from the mom to the child. External circumstances, external stressors can be transmitted through the placenta to the child. They can be born with, traumatic anxieties and post-traumatic disorder and things like that. And of course too small to understand, and they have to be guided, but usually it can come from the mom and be given to the child, and we've seen this scientifically. Do you agree with that?
I totally agree. I feel that this is why the spiritual practice, the work you need to do on the self-healing journey, that I
Yeah.
encourage parents to join, especially when I hear parents telling me, well, this happened to me as a child. I say,
Right.
have you resolved this?
Right.
No, I haven't. I've just been too busy. I need to put a roof over my head and, whatever the reasons are. And I tell them,
Mhm.
no, there is a time in your life you got to stop because you got to realize your child is carrying all this for you. I've
Absolutely.
always said pets and children are the greatest lovers on the earth.
Hmm.
They take what you're suffering from and want to help you. They're natural healers. Children and pets, people have told me this. And I've had to talk to pet owners and and parents of young children, please don't dump on children. You
Hmm.
know, please just take care of this, because the more you dump on them, it's too heavy for them to carry. Their little minds are already stressed carrying what,
Sure.
that
Sure.
came through the placenta, as you
Right.
said.
Right.
So it's just that kindness, the kindness of realizing that children are our future. People always ask me, I don't know what I want to do for my future. I said,
Right.
please don't waste your time there. The future is staring at us. It's these young children.
Hmm.
They're the future. And if we can
Yes.
focus on giving them wonderful lives, our
Yeah.
future is going to be so bright and beautiful.
Absolutely.
And I really believe this in the core of my being, because
Right.
I've seen parents that really pay attention to their children. And I've seen those children, when they're adults, really supporting their parents in beautiful ways, you know?
Absolutely. And there's some beautiful families that are going through some very, trying to good parents. We have good parents, we have bad parents that,
I don't know if
you,
I'll call them bad. They're just struggling.
they're
You know,
struggling. Well,
call
I,
them
I
the
guess,
struggling parents. I can
yeah,
never say
yeah,
there's
yeah,
bad parents, because I
yeah.
know everybody has a good intention. I know we have individuals on the extreme spectrum in
Absolutely.
life.
Absolutely.
There's extremely
Absolutely.
goody parents, and there's extremely on the other side of the spectrum, because
Very
they weren't
abusive.
treated well as children,
Yeah.
so they're passing it along.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly. And I quantify that in those extremes, not
Yeah.
not in generalizations, but in extremes, certainly. So I'll pull myself out of that one. But I think that if, again, we have the opposite extremes and even some in the middle. So there are many different styles and ways of doing it. But where do children pick up and suffer and move forward? So many children go into school and meet other children who are terrifying. They're cruel, even to some extent, and get they suffer some great self esteem issues. Trying to just get through. So I see it in middle school mostly, when most of the adolescents that I see in clinic, are in middle school. And so where does this come from when children meet other children that and maybe even adults, that treat them in style of bullying?
It's sad that this is happening on massive scales in the school.
Massive.
It's
Yeah.
sad that we have school shootings every day that
Yes.
never get reported.
Right.
Where a child has needs to defend themselves in these ways, or
Right.
just can't stand it anymore, right? And they take it out. We've
Mhm.
seen this, and the thing is that people have let me know that these things are happening because things are not being resolved in childhood. But there are many of us who had terrible childhoods, but we didn't go that way.
Right.
we
Right. What?
internalized it, and we decided that we are going to find a
Mhm.
way. I call these resilient children, very
Mhm.
resilient. They come from backgrounds of the inner city. They come from even wealthy neighborhoods.
Sure.
I've seen children being prescribed drugs, and these drugs cause them to dumb down, cause them to feel sleepy. I had a
Mhm.
lot of little sleepers in my elementary school. I was teaching grade one, first grade, sorry,
Yeah.
and I had to let them sleep because they were so groggy, and so I had the teacher aide to stay there while I took the others to the playground to have their break outside. And I kept telling the parents, please, giving them too many of these drugs is just causing them, and say, but I can't manage without them taking
Without
those.
them.
And I'm just like, we need kind of a balance here, and talking to the people, the special needs teachers, that are trained in this way. I wasn't trained in that way. I
Sure.
was trained
Sure.
with regular children, right?
Sure.
But through my troubles of my own self, I began to have to learn this really quick, and the children taught me. That's the beauty of when you're working with children. You're teaching them and they're teaching you, because you have to be able to understand children in order to teach them. So
Sure.
it's a great gift I was given by the children. So I quickly
Sure.
got on
Sure.
and decided to use creative ways to help them, help themselves. I
Yes.
really believe in teaching people how to fish, not giving them a fish. And
Right.
this happens as early as 2 years old, because I taught 2 year olds, I taught toddlers. And I
Yeah.
said, what can we do in our classroom? Because, look at this. We all the blocks are spread all over. What can we do? And then you
Sure.
see them quietly picking things up and putting them away, and tears would just come down my face because nobody believes 2 year olds can do this. But
Sure.
here in this classroom, they are taking their responsibility. They're helping themselves. You
Sure.
see, and
Sure.
I teach parents this everywhere I go. I meet them in the grocery store. The little one comes and hugs me, and the parents wondering why are they hugging this African woman or whatever. I
Your
mean,
energy. Your energy.
they feel the energy.
They
The energy
do.
is that I love you and I'm
Yeah.
here for you. And
Sure.
I want everybody to have this sense of responsibility because
Yeah.
children, again, are our future. They're going to be leaders and they're going to be making the decisions for people who are aging, right? We don't have that. We're letting the young take over. And if they're
Right.
not well prepared to take these roles, then the whole nation suffers, right?
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
we're seeing a little bit of this in our own nation here of United States. We're seeing people just thinking in ways that this is not humanity helping humanity. This is the total opposite, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
not what I want for young children. I want them to learn to be responsible first for themselves,
Sure.
and then they can help others. Put your
Right.
own
Right.
mask on
Right.
first,
Right.
and then you can help others.
So in many of these, and I guess when I also say bad parents, I think a lot of them are just broken and don't have that capability of, showing their children how to pave their own road and, function with other children, function with other adults. I think that hits them in their self-esteem. They want to please. Children always want to make people happy and fix situations. They see a lot of bad situations at home or at school. They want to help fix it, but they're told they can't. They're not capable. There I see so many different examples. I'll tell you. Once my daughter was, she had a troublesome childhood. Many people who do. Nothing's perfect, but she would dress a little gothically, and she would walk the hallways at school, and the football players, the strong men that ruled the school, would walk by and hit her books out of her arm, pull her earphones out. And, then as she went to go pick up her books, they would kick them away from her or push her downstairs or things like that. Where does this come from? What type of people have grow up with that? What do they see? How does that develop?
It's sad when you see that happening at schools, and mostly it's children want to belong and they want to be
They
loved.
want to belong.
They're
Absolutely.
not finding that at home, then they're going to create that pathway.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
unfortunately, the people they want to be loved by and to belong are usually the people who are stronger. We all
Right.
gravitate to strong people, especially when we're weak, right? Or we feel weak.
Sure.
So then this is how, if I hang out with these people, I'm going to be associating myself with strength and being
Sure.
strong, and
Sure.
other people will leave me alone. And then there's the case of your daughter who
Mhm.
wants her own independence, being with a
Absolutely.
mother that believes in independence, right?
Mhm.
And so she's striking out her own path, and
Yes.
she's refusing to join, others. There are children who are like this. They're stubborn. They want their own self to be expressed. And
Absolutely.
usually I talk to these children because they're showing their strength. But the thing that I have the problem with, and this is my pet peeve, is
Yeah.
that if these children are in school and they are doing these things, where are the adults that
Thank
are
you.
responsible for these children?
Thank you.
Why aren't you stepping up? Well, I hear the stories on the other side. One of the teachers was thrown down the stairs by her elementary school children because
Yes.
she's small. She's not tall, she's small.
Yes.
And so they just bullied her, the teacher, and threw her down the stairs. She was in a cast when I saw her, and I said, "Oh my goodness, they three, you're telling me third graders did this?" She said yes. She
Wow.
said, and that's why I've changed my job. I'm just wanting to come and work in another environment. So she came to work in the college because
Wow.
she felt
Wow.
like at least the college students needed.
That Yeah, that is a point that I was hoping to touch on, that many teachers are extremely frustrated because they are not allowed to discipline. They're not even allowed to change diapers any longer in, in nurseries. That they can't go into the bathroom and help a child clean themselves if they don't know how. They're not allowed to touch. And I get it. I understand some of the reasons behind it, but they are not allowed to speak strongly and discipline, and so they would stand and watch this occur with my daughter, and they're not able to truly intervene. And so my little one, I painted her maybe as somebody who is weak in certain circumstances, but she is her mother times 1,000. You are right. She is independent and driving her own way. And I think that stands out, and maybe, I don't know, intimidating is the right word, but it can, strike a chord in somebody who wants to be stronger,
Mhm.
and therefore they're exerting their will and their force to prove their own strength. But interesting. I do feel for these teachers, though. Many teachers in my practice have told me they have quit, and they're great individuals. They're great teachers, but they say they no longer have power. They're no longer able to discipline or hold their classroom any longer.
They're not supported. They're not, nobody's really fighting for the teachers. And on
Correct.
the other hand, nobody's really fighting for the children. They
Either.
just letting things be. And that
Right.
is a high level of irresponsibility, right?
Absolutely.
And it
Absolutely.
points to society. We have to come together and develop policies that support the people who are working with the dearest and nearest of individuals, which are young children.
Absolutely.
And I can go to the other extreme with elderly. There's
Yeah.
elderly abuse too. But let
Absolutely.
me stay
Yes.
focused on my passion here. I
Yes.
just want to just let people know that there's a time in life where we now need to rise up because things are not working the way that they're supposed to be working. And all of us have the solution. You do your small part, and the
Yes.
small parts begin to add up. You
Yes.
talk to your child who's being bullied. You ask about it. You document it. You go see the principals and have, a trail, a document trail.
Document your
You
trail.
also need to
Yes.
understand that children sometimes will tell an untruth to protect the people they love, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
abuse could be happening at home, and then they come and take it out on the other children, but they're
Yes.
never going to tell you about the abuse at home.
Yes.
So we need to be able to understand all the 360 of young
Yes.
children. And I
Yes.
find that the more interested we become in the young people and the young children, especially under the age of 5, because this is where the damage really happens
Amen.
and it stays for life.
Yeah.
I know individuals that have never been able to overcome what happened to them between ages 0 and 5. And
Right.
this is why I want to protect this age group,
Right.
because they don't know the difference between abuse and love, because they're told when they're being abused, whether it's physically, sexually, psychically, psychologically. There are
Yeah.
all kinds of abuse that I'm not even able to label all of them because this area has grown so big.
It really
Other
has.
types of abuse and the categories, right?
Right.
They are dominant categories. You can, abuse somebody socially, physically, intellectually, and did I'm missing one. Cognitive, so yeah, cognitively, intellectually, physically, all the forms of physical, social, emotional.
Right.
You can really abuse a child these ways,
Yeah.
right? And the issue is that we need to be able to address abuse severely as a society.
Yes.
You
Agreed.
cross the line, which I call the red line, in the
Mm.
TED talk I did in 2017 that you're familiar with, where
Yes.
is there a pedophile in your family tree?
Yes.
Because children are not abused by strangers.
Right.
You know,
Right.
Amber Alert is a very powerful alert, but often it's a relative, somebody the child intimately knows.
Knows. Yes.
So
This is
here
true.
we are teaching stranger danger when the person is in your family tree.
Absolutely.
I've been discussing this with a lot of people, and one of the things is that 4 weeks ago I met one of my deans who said that her partner and her do not allow their children to spend the night in anybody's home. We go
Understood.
for the party, we come back.
We
And
did
when it
that
comes
too.
to babysitting, they've put level 2, level 1,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
they're not letting their family members, babysit. They're going to do so. They have work flex hours to be able to do that. Now, not
Yes.
everybody can do this,
Right.
but it's just spreading the idea that
Yes.
the child knows their abuser,
Absolutely.
know who's hurting them, and they have been told to keep it a secret. They've been told they're afraid of being harmed. So
Yes.
by the time the little ones, 2-year-olds, 3, 4, 5, come to my classrooms, I have already seen it because I pick it up very, like some people have a radar. They can pick this. You have that tummy feeling that something's not right here. You know,
Absolutely.
and so you provide that child an outlet. I
Yeah.
do it through songs, I do it through storytelling, do it through art. Whatever the child's interest is, I want to hone in that interest, because once I find out what they're really interested in, I can redirect them to focus on that and
Oh,
not
wow.
focus on the hurt that they're experiencing. We're taking care of the hurt by teaching the child that they came to have a special contribution here in this life. And if we
Absolutely.
find it as soon as possible, we can redirect them. Because let's
Oh,
face it,
oh yeah. Yeah.
there are too many conditions and circumstances we are all going through.
What's beautiful about that is that you, in a very brief period of time, can change a life. And we
Mhm.
all have that capability. You feel like you have to spend so many years and time with these children, but just a small intervention like that can change a path. And we need to realize we all have that capability. In fact, or probably take a short break here, but I want to come back and talk about some tips on recognizing children who might be in danger, and then how maybe the cycle can be stopped. But first, I want people to know, where can they find you and information on you and any of the resources that you have?
Yes, we're starting a new venture now. I'm opening my classes more on a global, national
Beautiful.
level, because
Beautiful.
I've just been teaching and limiting myself to one location. And I realize that my students have been telling me, Dr. Rose, I'd love to take another class with you. And I say
Nice.
that I'm limited to how many classes I can
Yes.
teach here
Yes.
and what I can say in these classes. But
Yes.
once I'm creating a platform where I can say what I need to say. I
Mhm.
can integrate spiritual understanding,
Yes.
because there's a lot of people that need that understanding,
Yes.
because we're all spiritual beings. We're
Yeah.
in physical form.
Yeah.
And so just that understanding alone opens many doors.
Right.
So they can find me right now, where the website is currently being updated, but send me an email at
Okay.
hello@roseshiva.com, and it will be something that I will send to you,
Thank you.
Marianne,
Thank you. Thank you.
Dr. Marianne,
Yes.
to be able to share that with people. And
Excellent.
as it becomes available, you will get the email. This work
Absolutely.
isn't for everybody, right? Because there are some of us who have been heavily traumatized, but it does support parents who want to know how to help their children
Yes.
should that occur.
Yes. Good.
Because 9 out of 10 times it will happen, because children, when they interact with others, will meet other children that are, being
Yeah.
screaming
Yeah.
behind closed doors. And you have to
Absolutely.
remember something about children: they're extremely helpful, extremely
Absolutely. Absolutely wonderful. And we will have all this on the website, as well as all of my other shows. I've been going for over 3 years now, Rose. Can you believe that?
loved.
So I know. So please go to drpbetterlife.com and you will be able to find all this wonderful information, again, as well as those previous shows. And we are going to take a short break. I want to give my props to Magna Pharmaceuticals and Dr. Warren Lesser and his wife, Mary, who have been so good to me. So we'll take a short break and be back on the other side. See you soon.
Depression, anxiety, low energy, weakness, these are just some symptoms of low B12 levels. And the absorbable B12 folate supplement that's helping people declare victory over depression symptoms is De Novo Plus B12 by Magna Pharmaceuticals. Patients with symptoms of depression often exhibit low levels of folate and vitamin B12. The human body needs sufficient folate intake to produce the essential neurotransmitters serotonin, dopamine, and norepinephrine. These neurotransmitters alleviate feelings of sadness, anxiety, and gloom. What makes De Novo Plus B12 so successful? De Novo Plus B12 contains readily absorbable folate and B12. That means it's more successful at correcting the root cause of your deficiency, not just the symptoms. Whether you are suffering with low energy, depression, fatigue, or anxiety, you owe it to yourself to learn more at magnaweb.com. That's magnaweb.com. Please let us know at checkout that you heard about De Novo Plus B12 on The Better Life with Dr. Pinkston.
Thank you, Magna. They have taken good care of us over here. So, Dr. Rose, thank you again. It's so wonderful to have you on. And I think beforehand we mentioned talking about a few tips on recognizing how can you recognize that there is a child in your midst that is in trouble. And then maybe some strategies on helping stop that cycle. Maybe if it's in your own home, your own school, wherever you are, what kind of action can you take?
Well, the first question you asked me, Dr. Marianne, is, how do we recognize these children? And sometimes we don't recognize them. A lot of people don't recognize them because sometimes they are kind of mirroring what you haven't dealt with, number one. And number two, not very many people understand young children. People have not taken the classes to really understand children. Even parents haven't taken these classes. Some parents have. Let's give them kudos for that.
Yeah.
But, it's just like the driving license. Nobody gets a driving license unless they've gone to take the classes and the test.
That's right.
And I feel that we are coming to a time where nobody should have a child until they've understood how to work with young children and the development of young children. That should be something that we should take on as a nation if we are to really change the trajectory of a child's life.
Absolutely.
From when they're born into adulthood. But once again, we're still, there's a lot of people who feel I belong to this religion. I have the right to bring up the child the way I see fit. I'm not going to listen to a government policy. And so that's why this has been so dicey, But the main thing is let's do what's good for a child. That is the focus. Yeah. We have a nation right now where even whether you're bringing your child up in a religious background or not, you may have to keep that child at home forever because when they step out, there's a lot of stuff going on, that is beyond your control, right? Yeah. So why don't we get into a conversation on a nationwide, global wide, what is best for children and to understand the fundamentals, understand how children develop. That's scientific, right? Now, the spiritual part is very important and everybody has a right for that. But science has things that are proven and tested. And we need to be able to listen to that, just like what you shared at the top of the hour about the placenta. It does get passed on. If the mother and the father have not resolved issues, it will follow the child.
It will.
The child has to bear the burden. If you've been a drinker and you've been drinking when you're pregnant, or your partner, your husband has been doing other things, or the partner, it's going to follow the child. Some children are born with that detriment in their lives. And then we have to pick up those pieces and be able to help the child the best way. Correct. One of my greatest miracles that I saw was a little child who didn't have this part of her hand, this part here, and she didn't have she only could go up to her knees, no legs, no feet, right? And she was moving like this in the classroom, in the preschool classroom, with her elbows and dragging her feet. I mean, I was in tears, and they told me how that had developed. It was because the mother was on drugs or something like this, so she was born without those, limbs, those part of her limbs. But it was so delightful. I remember picking her up, and she gave me the greatest hug. And you have to take her to the bathroom. She's dependent on us helping her. But she was such a cheerful child. There she was with her friends who are running about her, who are helping her every now and then. I mean, to me, that's a miracle.
Yes.
It really, truly is a miracle. And I've
Yes.
seen children who are very resilient despite their
Absolutely.
circumstances.
Absolutely. They are very resilient.
So you honor these children. Wherever you see them, you honor them, even if it's just to stop and take a moment to say thank you for that child.
Yeah.
Now, there are times I was sitting at the Beverly Hills Connection Center and I saw two children, an older one, he was probably about 7, and the other child was about 3 years old. They were walking as in the direction of the bathroom. Nobody was there with them. I got up right away and said, "Excuse me, where are you going?" We're going to the bathroom. And said, "Where is your parent?" And the parent was there on the phone, just doing
Sure.
this, so whatever they were doing. And then she saw me and she rushed up to me and told me off and said, "Mind your own business." And when I said, "Excuse me, you cannot allow your child to go to the restrooms, public restrooms alone. I'm sorry. You just can't
Right.
do that.
Right.
Okay, I will report you." And, because now, I have to now take my position, whatever it was I was doing. And she went to the restroom with her children and she came back and she was hugging my feet. She said, "Thank you, thank you. I saw a man hiding in the restroom."
Oh, oh my.
And
You never know, right?
she was just so thankful that I did that, even though she had cussed me before. And I
Sure.
said, "Please get up. No need to do that. My job is to make sure that I let parents know that they need to be extra careful." And
Absolutely.
people don't like to hear, "I need to now do much more than I'm doing for my children. I'm
Yeah.
already frustrated. I have to work. I have to do this." Yes, you do. But this is a precious little human being.
Oh, we get comfortable. We get so
Yes.
comfortable,
And you
right?
let them say, "Okay, go do it. Go play on the tablet, whatever."
Oh,
What are
yes.
the tablets teaching? Number one, the children need connection with you. You're the most powerful person in their lives right now. They're
True.
looking at you. You are
Yes.
the example they follow. You are the model they follow. If you're busy smoking away and doing some other kinds of things, they're going to be modeling that behavior. You
Absolutely.
can't yell at them
Absolutely.
for smoking when they're young,
Right.
when you're doing it. You
This
set
is
the example,
yeah.
you know? And listen, I can never tell anybody not to eat sugar, okay? Because I'm a sugarholic. This is the way I survived my life, right? I'm happy to say that this year it's totally under control. Okay.
Wonderful.
Do you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
totally under control. If
Yes.
I eat the sugary thing, it's maybe once a day instead of 7 times a day.
Sure.
We're now bringing it down to possibly once every 2 days. You do
Yeah.
things gradually to wean yourself off those behaviors,
Sure.
because I am not afraid, Marianne,
Yeah.
of God watching me. I really don't care about God watching me. Who I give, caution to watching me is the young children, because
Wow.
they model, they model,
They watch.
they
They
watch
watch.
and they do. They watch
Absolutely.
and they do. So
Yes.
what are you modeling? That's something you can do. Check all your behaviors if you're a parent.
Mhm.
Just be honest. This is, after all, about your children. This is about you.
Yeah.
And there's no shame in you saying, just like my sugar habit, that this is where I've been, but let's self-correct.
Yeah.
Because what are we doing this for? We're
Right.
doing this for our own future.
Right, right. They'll watch you make a mistake and then they'll watch you fix it. And that is extremely valuable. I did that at 300 pounds and a bad eating disorder, right? And I sat in front of my patients telling them to lose weight and eat healthy. And I did that at home in front of my children, telling them the same thing. And I was like, 1 and 1 is not equaling 2 here. Let's change that behavior and represent so that they could see that you can make mistakes and you can change them and make things better. And so yes, we have to do that. Absolutely.
The most
Agreed.
powerful example I have of what you're saying, and I totally applaud you for the actions you took. I mean, you are just completely different. I mean, when I look at you, I just smile.
You
Because
met me back then. You remember me back then.
when you were a little overweight, not 300 pounds, but you
There, but
the
close.
journey. Yeah, you were on the journey, and I really applaud you, because that's a journey I had to take. 2016, showing up at a high-end gym, walking on the treadmill and seeing people snickering. And
Yeah.
I said, you know what? You continue to laugh, but I promise you,
Wait.
even if it takes me 5 years, which I gave myself a long runway,
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't give myself, okay, in 6 months, I'm going to be this. No, no,
Thank
no, no.
you.
That's too short for a person like me.
Thank you.
Okay.
And for
I
all.
need a long runway, and I'm
All of
content
us.
with myself there. As long as I'm hitting my targets every day of
Sure.
showing up and doing the exercise, within a year,
Consistency.
people are saying, oh, you're losing weight. Within 2 years, they're like, what did you do? And,
Consistency.
and that's what you need to teach children. They
Sure.
need to be consistent. Some children give up. They really do. Because who are they seeing that gives up?
Yeah.
Their parents or their teachers. I hate children being put on timeout. I
Mhm.
really do.
Yeah.
Because that's a waste of a child's life. Yes, they possibly need time to reflect, but be there with them. Don't leave them all alone. As a teacher with 15, 20 children, I would stand there and face my classroom so I can see what the others are doing and let the TA that was working with me know that I'm with Samantha right now. She's on timeout. She needs some time to reflect or
Mhm.
whatever. It's
Mhm.
not called time on. Maybe let's go think about it.
Right.
Want to
Right.
draw a picture and explain what happened if they're little. And if
Yeah.
they're older, we talk about it.
Right.
And then we say, can we invite so and so who you had can we invite Paul back, Timothy, to talk with you about this? And they
Absolutely.
talk about it. I don't want to be the rescuer. I
Right.
want them to self-rescue themselves.
Do the work and do the work. And confrontation's very scary, though. It is. If you guide them to understand confrontation can be a good thing, then
Oh, yes,
yeah.
it's
Oh,
when you
absolutely.
confront yourself in the mirror and say, Rose, sugar is not good for you. You know? And you're like, okay, I just needed it
Okay.
for this reason, and literally to have self conversations. It's the
Sure.
most powerful thing. Children do it. You see
Yeah.
them in the dramatic play area and talking to the little dolly saying, and now you must sleep, okay? You sleep because of mommy said so. They're reflecting what their
They're
parents
all right.
know exactly what's happening in the homes of
Sure.
young
Sure.
children when
I
they're watching them play.
right. Right. No, I think that's great advice.
And so
Be a
you can do
reflection.
the same with
Mhm.
yourself. I have literally out loud, I speak out loud to myself. And we've been told speaking to yourself is crazy. Scratch that idea. Okay. Talk to yourself. You need to have
Absolutely.
a meeting with yourself at the end of the day to congratulate yourself for all the
Absolutely.
wonderful things you were able to do.
Absolutely.
And if there were some things you didn't do well, you just say, okay, I did this way, but I'm
Sure.
going to try it another way. And
Yes.
try is not my favorite word, but many
Yeah.
people use it.
Yeah.
So I always say, do like Nike, just do it. So
Just
instead of saying I will try, I would do it a different way tomorrow.
yes.
Don't use the word try because here's a pencil. I mean, a
Yeah.
pen, my
Yeah.
favorite. I love these markers. By the way, Crayola is my
Yeah.
favorite thing to write in my journals, right? And here, okay, let's try. Try. And some people, when I say, please pick this up,
Yeah.
and show me what trying is, they pick it up. I said, no, you didn't try. Trying is like this.
Yeah.
Subconsciously trying, subconscious understands trying. Okay.
Yes.
But just say, do it, pick it up. Let's go. And
Right.
I've had this experience with my 5-year-olds. They're always running around saying, teacher, can you tie my shoelace? And I have to stop and say, listen, is there anybody, did you ask Paul or Samantha or somebody else to show you
That's
how
right.
to tie the
Mhm.
shoelace?
Mhm.
And so they go to that person, and this is the way they tie the shoelaces.
Right.
One knot after the other. Perfect.
Right.
And the child's running with all these knots. And the
Right.
parent comes up to me and say, what is going on in your classroom, Rose? I said, well, children are kind of helping each other, and it is my philosophy. And,
Yeah.
and I'm helping her undo all the knots because she's
Yeah.
furious because of all
Yeah.
the knots. But guess what? They had a chance to do it their
And,
way.
and interact and
It's
show each
still,
other
it's
and
still
teach. How
so
wonderful, how gratifying, right? To be able to teach it. I know
gratifying.
there's a couple of classes that my children were in, mostly in middle school, I think, and some in high school, where instead of the teacher teaching how to do a math problem, they asked the kids to teach each other. And you're hoping that somebody did their homework and actually learned it so that they could teach it somewhere in class. But and for a while, I was very disturbed by that. But it turned out that my daughter had taught a couple of times and felt so gratified, by the fact she was able to teach and accomplish that with somebody and pass her knowledge on. And it was a big self-esteem moment, for her. So I had to change my mind on that a little bit, but it was an interesting philosophy concept. Yeah. Very interesting. So, wow.
And I love that example, because just to add on to that, the teacher can give a guide for them in the center.
They were overseeing
her, and they can figure it out together. I love it when children figure out things together.
Yes.
And the last thing I want to give is teaching children the 5 things they can do. Okay, they have 5 fingers. It's very easy. When you get up, I want you to brush your teeth. The next thing I want you to do is possibly make your bed. The next thing, dress yourself. Design a system based on their 5 fingers. They'll remember it faster.
They will.
3 is difficult for them to put 3 fingers. At least my 2-year-olds 3 have. 3 is tricky, very powerful.
It is.
I use it for my 7 and 8-year-olds. But my 5, 4s, we're counting on the 5 fingers. My little ones know how to read and count very earlier than the target. And I didn't use a special system. I used, you see, how do you tell the story of the 3 little pigs? My 2-year-olds are already turning the pages and saying, and the piggy went to mommy. And they're just saying whatever they want, and then they turn the next page. And then I tell the story, and I sometimes include their additions. And you can see such happiness on their faces.
So precious.
Our job is to make children happy and to make them realize what a happy, wonderful world is living. Because look at the conditions and circumstances of today, it's enough for people to say, take me back. I don't want to be here.
I'm done. Yes, that's right. Run away.
Concentrate on being happy. Every day I ask myself, because I have been in depression for a long time in my life because of my past.
Yes.
And I was able to turn that corner just 5 years ago when I started asking myself, what can you do? Because you are the one in control of your life. This is my self-conversation. What can you do to be happy today? Because really, you can have all the money in the world and be unhappy. You can have the greatest health in the world and be health body and be unhappy. So my first target is always happiness.
Yes.
Next comes my health. Next comes my wealth. In that order. And I teach everybody this. We need to make, what can you do to make yourself happy today? My mommy went and, Samantha, let's really focus here. What can you do? Would you like to go to this area, or would you like to go to this area? I give them 2 choices. It's overwhelming to give a lot of choices. So we stay on 2. And she chooses, and before I know what's happening, no more tears, just dancing around, teaching her the dolls in the play area to dance. I mean, I've just so many stories. Sometimes when I talk about children, I can't keep quiet about it, And so this is why I need to move to another platform where I can talk all night if I need to.
Agreed. And love that. So you are developing this platform. And so I know you are going to provide the email for us so that people can get in line and have access. And so I'm going to have that provided on the website. Tell us again kind of where people can reach you, and we will have that accessible.
The best way to reach me now is hello@roseshiva.com. And Rose is spelled like Rose. Shiva is SHEEEEVA.com. And we're going to have the information there with a special QR code for you, for your followers to get a discount, or just to try out it's a pilot right now. We just need a few people to help us launch with a pilot. The classes are varied. We have introduction classes that are just teaching the fundamentals that children need, the fundamentals that adults who take care of children need. Because once you know the fundamentals, then you can build the castles that you want after.
That's right.
Fundamentals. And we've kind of lost the fundamentals as we've been moving into, the apps and the tablets and
and AI. We're losing the fundamentals.
There's a lot, but you know what? Why don't you use your own, brain? We don't want to lose your functions of your brain because other people are doing your heavy lifting. I still want children to be able to think for themselves, make their own choices. That's what I'm calling fundamentals. Right?
Yeah.
And what choices children make are dependent on the adults taking care of them. If the
Absolutely.
only choice is going to be the phone and the tablet, then
Right.
that's the choice they will always make. Even when
Right.
they come to my classroom,
Yeah.
they'll be crying for the tablet, they'll be
Yep.
crying for the phone.
Yeah.
And in my classroom, we have books, we have, pets in the room, like the goldfish, the bunny, who's taking the bunny home. I have let my bunny go to other people's homes on the weekend.
Brave.
Very worried
Brave.
about the bunny
I'm
because,
sure.
but we learn how to take care of the bunny during
Yes.
the week. And if you
Yes.
want to be on this, I need to see how you're handling the bunny. And so
Beautiful.
they get to take the bunny and explain
Well
to the
done.
parents. It's
Well
a beautiful world. Not
It is.
everybody can go to Disneyland. I'm just going to
Yeah.
tell you, many children who want to go. But if teachers, and I tell my teachers, if we can create something that's beautiful for them in the classrooms, lots of activities, lots of
Absolutely.
ways for them to grow and develop socially,
Absolutely.
emotionally, physically, intellectually, or cognitively, we are
Yes.
going to have a different world. Literally.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Everybody does their part, from the
Yes.
policemen to the judges to the lawyers to the entire community.
Yes.
Children need to be a focus,
Yes.
because as I close, a nation that neglects, ignores their children is a nation in peril.
Love it. That's wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Rose. You are such a blessing, and I appreciate you being on today so much. And please, everyone, go to drpbetterlife.com where you can find all this information on Dr. Rose and, of course, all the other shows that I have done at this point. Very proud of. But I am always, always honored to have such wonderful people on, and you are at the top of that list. So thank you so, so much for being on.
Thank you so much for having me. And thank you, everyone, for spending the time to listen to
Beautiful.
the podcast, because, children really matter. And we've
They
got
really
to
matter.
scale it up a little more and a little
Absolutely.
more each time.
Absolutely.
So thank
Absolutely. You're welcome. Everybody have a great week, and please take care of each other out there. We'll see you next time.